The final edition of LCPioneers.com Live, presented by PioStream for this week, as we are broadcasting Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 live on Facebook at facebook.com/LCPioneers. You can also type in LCPioneers.com/live to get there and watch our shows as they happen, or check us out on YouTube after the show. All of our past shows available on demand through a playlist at youtube.com/LCPios. Hello, I am Ryan Goff. I'm the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark, the Pioneers out of Portland, Oregon. We are a member of the Northwest Conference, competing against other institutions from throughout Northwest Oregon and the state of Washington as part of NCAA Division III, and with over 430 institutions across the country, opportunities for our student athletes to compete on the national stage, and with Lewis and Clark's robust overseas study program, opportunity for them to get involved worldwide as well. In just a little bit, we'll welcome in our guest for today, rising senior of Pioneers baseball. We'll bring in Sammy Benbow, one of our spring student athletes who had their season cut short. Probably about three-quarters of the baseball season, maybe two-thirds were completed before it was shut down in mid-March. And it was too bad because it was coming on the heels of arguably the best series for the Pioneers of the season, as they took down one of the preseason favorites in the conference, George Fox. We'll talk to Sammy about that hot start. He was a big reason why. I mean, his offensive bat was strong right off the bat, and we'll see kind of what's ahead as he moves into his senior year as well. If you have a question for Sammy, let us know in the Facebook comments. You can also email us sports@lclark.edu. Also, a great way to let us know if there's anyone that you would like to see on the show. You can do so by going to LC Pioneers on Instagram and on Twitter, and follow us too, as I mentioned, with our YouTube channel as well. LCPioneers.com is our website, and worth taking a visit. Right now, you can read about the interim tag being removed from Mark Petrock's status as the athletic director. He is now the permanent director of physical education and athletics. Petey was about 15, 16 months into his second stint as the interim AD, and now has the opportunity to lead the department without the interim tag. You can also check out some other information, including a recently announced women's soccer incoming class for the 2020-21 academic year, where we'll be releasing volleyball, baseball, and softball in the near future, too. So you can see who will be joining Sammy and some of the other teams on Palatine Hill in the near future as well. And I mentioned youtube.com/LCPios. That's where you can see our playlist of past shows. We're moving now into the 12th week of having this show on Facebook Live and archived on YouTube. So dating back to the final day of March, you can watch all of our shows on demand, youtube.com/LCPios. So let's bring in our guest for today, rising senior for Pioneers baseball out of San Diego, California. He joins us on LCPioneers.com Live. It's Sammy Benbow. Sammy, appreciate you taking some time for us to end the week and let us talk some baseball. I mean, I said it kind of in that opening. I don't know if you've had a hotter start in my recent memory for Pioneers baseball in terms of, Northwest Conference taking a series from one of the favorites. Describe it from the inside, your perspective as the team, was wrapping up that George Fox series before the season was halted.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on the show. But yeah, going into the season, I think that, we started kind of slow, down in LA, and then preseason tournament and kind of the first couple weeks of conference, we started to turn it around. But I think that for us, the George Fox series was really a turning point in our eyes, taking 2 out of 3 from a team that was really going into the season as the conference favorites. I think really pumped all of us up, especially after losing the first game and then coming back and winning the second game on Saturday behind, 4 or 5 runs on Sunday, coming back against a really good team to win the series. I think that was definitely the high point for us of the season, and it's just unfortunate for all of us, I think, that the season had to come to an end right after such a great weekend for us.
And what do you attribute to some of the success you were having offensively? I mean, you were second on the team in batting average, third in RBI, and it was interesting from my perspective, doing all the statistical stuff. All the coronavirus pandemic comes out, we get halted, and a couple weeks later, I start to look at where the team was ranking. I mean, Jack Thompson was leading the conference in a lot of the categories, top 10, 11 in the nation, right? So you guys were off to such a hot start offensively. What do you attribute that, both individually for yourself, but also as a team as a whole?
Yeah, no, I think for myself, from the first couple of years, getting to learn from older guys in my position and kind of taking a lot of information from them and seeing what works well for them, what I can implement into my own game. And then I think just kind of going into this fall, I kind of threw all expectations out the window. I kind of just said, I'm going to play my hardest and, the chips will fall where they may. And I was fortunate enough to get off to a hot start in the fall and play that into a starting role in the spring. And then, even as I started the first couple weeks a little bit slowly, I think that for me, the key was just kind of trusting my ability and my skills and just believing in myself that I was going to be able to have success at a certain point. And I think that the Willamette series was really a turning point for me. I really started to realize my potential, and as a result, my confidence kind of just skyrocketed. And then you kind of saw that going into the next weekend against George Fox, and I felt really good those past couple weeks. And so it was unfortunate that we had to end the season then. But I think also kind of bringing it into a team wide perspective, you can kind of take some of the things from my game into some of the things that the coaching staff really likes to implement into everybody's game. That's kind of just taking everything like one pitch at a time, working on the little things, not trying to do too much, not only at the plate, but also on the mound, in the field, any aspect of the game. And so our coaching staff has really done a great job of preaching that, especially this year. And I think that that's definitely a big factor of our success and our trajectory in the future, because we think that continuing on with this approach and this kind of mindset is going to lead to success for us in the future.
Sammy Benbow joining us on lcpioneers.com live, rising senior for Pioneers baseball. And now the season canceled, you're not able to play any more of your games. Everyone starts going home, remote learning. I'm curious, with the team that was on the rise like you were, maybe feeling like everything that you've worked on the first couple of years with Coach Matt Kozderka at the helm was starting to develop, come to fruition. I'm curious, two things, off campus, everyone remote, how do you just stay in touch in general? What were some of the best things that worked? But also, how do you kind of maintain that positive momentum, that positive trajectory, even though you're not getting games, you're not even able to work with each other?
Yeah, no, going back to that first question, I think that, our coaches and our team in general is a pretty tight group of guys. We like to keep up with each other and spend time with each other whenever we can. And so that's been a little more difficult now that we've been remote, but our team has set up some Zoom calls, kind of just checking in, seeing how everybody's doing. Our coaches were really on top of us, especially the last month of the year, of the school year, when we were learning remotely. They were making sure we were getting our work done, because it's a lot harder to do it when you're not in a classroom setting. And so I commend them for that, for keeping on top of us. But yeah, no, and then just kind of going off of your second question, I think that going forward, we've kind of tried to keep that momentum from the last weekend and the last couple weekends, and just really continue to believe that we're going to be one of the premier programs in the conference in the near future. And the past weekend, the last weekend of the season, was really evidence of that. And so I think kind of developing that mindset, we've had a lot of time to do that the past couple months, of just developing that winning mindset and like trying to learn how to win, so we can implement it not only in fall ball, but next season as well.
Well, let's talk about next season. I mean, you lose four seniors from this past year. And one aspect, too, I mean, the first thing that you get to work on is that fall ball. And you referenced it earlier, how you implemented some of the stuff you worked on in the fall to have that hot offensive start for yourself. What is fall ball like, and how do you think that'll help you guys reach where you want to go in 2021?
Yeah, I think fall ball is probably the most important part of the season, honestly. I think that the fall ball, the 4 weeks that we're practicing and playing scrimmages in the fall, and then the weeks following that, I really believe that that is where the conference champions are made. And I think that, especially this past year, we did a really good job of staying more on top of each other, getting on each other, making sure we're going to all the workouts, and really giving all of our effort into each practice that we have, because we have such a limited amount of time in the fall. And then, after the fall is over, we're kind of on our own, doing our own thing. We have team lifts with Coach Ange, but, for the most part, we're kind of doing our own thing. And so I think there was a lot more accountability this past off season in how each guy carried himself, and how really our whole team as a collective had that desire to want to get better and not just be complacent at the bottom of the conference like we've been in years. I think that that's only going to continue to grow, especially into this coming fall. I think that the guys that we're bringing in and the guys that we're returning are guys who really love to get after it and guys who love to work hard. And so we are really excited, especially going into the fall and beyond, for what our program can do this year.
Let's discuss leadership of this program. I mentioned Matt Kozdurka as the head coach, a guy who, even just reading through tweets, this past week, talking about how he was drafted and what this week was like with the Major League Baseball draft. You got a guy who at the Division III level has, reached some of the top moments. I'm curious, his leadership, but the whole staff too. Kind of give us an inside glimpse about what it's like from the coaching perspective on this team.
Yeah, so Kaz has been a great leader ever since he came in. This is, he just finished his third season now. And I think that, we have all enjoyed having him as a leader and a role model, not only on the baseball side of things, but also just in life in general. He's a big proponent of preaching academics before athletics and trying to mold us into people not only in a baseball sense, but also in a way that we can implement into our lives outside of baseball and after we graduate. And, you don't really see that too much nowadays. I think a lot of coaches focus primarily on the sport and not too much outside of that. And so I think that it's, rare, and it's honestly been very fortunate for us to get to learn from him, not only on the baseball side. He was able to pitch in 3 regional tournaments with Willamette and get drafted and play professionally, but also, teaching us to be, quality men after we graduate has been really key. And I think that in the rest of our coaching staff as well, and the rest of the people that he's hired, Coach Del Prado, Coach Allen, Coach Topham, Coach Turpin, they've all been great role models for us, and people that we could see ourselves becoming after we graduate, people that we want to develop into after we graduate, and becoming those role models that can help mold younger generations.
LCPioneers.com live. We're live Tuesday through Friday at 11:30 on LCPioneers.com/live and archived on YouTube. Sammy Benbow joining us, the rising senior for Pioneers baseball, an economics and history major from San Diego. What brought you to Lewis and Clark? Why did you decide that this was going to be the right fit for you to compete in collegiate baseball?
Yeah, so I think for me, the recruiting process definitely kind of a blur. I think the summer months before my senior year and then kind of going into my senior year, I didn't really know where I was going to play. And, I picked up like a couple offers here and there, but, I went on a visit up here at LC, and I, really loved the campus. I really loved the culture. I really loved Portland as a city, and I could really see myself fitting in here, not only, academically, not only on the athletic side, but also just, as a I feel like I could really develop myself in Portland and, among this community. I think that, through my 3 years here, I've really grown as a person. I've really kind of matured. And I think that a large part of that is due to the community that's created among LC. And I really loved all the people that I've gotten to know and, will be friends with long after I graduate. But yeah, no, I'm really happy that I could be here for, now all 4 years. I know that not a lot of people are fortunate enough to spend all 4 years in a place that they really enjoy, but I'm lucky enough to have that experience, and I'm really looking forward to my senior year.
Now, the Lewis and Clark Athletics Department talks about building champions, in the classroom, competition, character, in the community. And one thing that I've really seen from Coach Kozdurka's baseball program, a former Champions Team of the Year selection, is that community service aspect. You kind of gave us a glimpse into how Coach Kaz preaches that collective, holistic approach. But when it comes to the community service opportunities, what have been some of the more meaningful moments that you recall working with your team to try to make Portland and the surrounding community better?
Yeah, no, our coaches have done a great job, not only locating different community service events that we can help out in within the greater Portland area, but also, taking lessons from them and really putting that into our daily lives and becoming the best people that we can be. I know that, just in the past couple of years, we've been fortunate enough to help people who are less fortunate and, really learn the privilege that we have and are able to experience going to such a great institution. And I think that, learning lessons from people who may not be as fortunate, or, really experiencing life outside of our collective bubble in Portland has been really eye opening for a lot of us. And it's something that we're going to take not only to the rest of our college careers, but also the rest of our lives as well. And really learning how to help out the less fortunate and those who are in need, going forward just down the road.
Yeah, you've had experience working with different groups like Operation Night Watch and such, and so looking forward to seeing how that continues in next academic year as well. Economics and history, I talked about that as your majors. What was your junior year like in terms of kind of solidifying maybe the path that you're going down? And have you had any opportunities to kind of have some more of that practical experience, whether it's through jobs or internships yet?
Yeah, so I think my junior year was definitely my most difficult year in terms of academics, just kind of the class load that I've taken on, like being a double major and kind of having to focus myself on a lot of upper level classes. And so that was difficult, and especially kind of going into distance learning. But I think that, the staff and the faculty here have done a great job of accommodating to distance learning, and they did a really great job, really not missing a beat in terms of when we went home to the end of the year. And so I really commend them for their efforts in the past couple months. But I think, moving on, I think once you become a junior and you get into that upperclassman level status, you kind of have one foot out the door almost, and you're looking kind of, okay, like what are my options past graduation? And I think that for me, that was definitely the case. This summer, I've been fortunate enough to do some economic research and market analysis for a company that helps patients with diabetes. And even though it's a virtual internship, it's really good to kind of gain that job experience and kind of learn, like, okay, like this is what my daily life could be outside of college after I graduate. And I think that's been really important for me, is kind of focusing on what I want to do after I graduate and in what capacity. And I think that, Lewis and Clark really does offer that ability to kind of, make you ready for the real world. I think that, in my last couple of years and my major classes, I've gotten a lot of good real world experience that I can implement into a job after I graduate and, kind of start a career with.
Well, we certainly hope that the lost spring season for all of our spring sports isn't going to stunt that growth, because I know that on paper that's a big loss for you guys to not get those games in that time working. But optimistic about what's ahead for Pioneers baseball, and hopefully you guys will pick up right where you left off with that George Fox series and that series win last season. Sammy Benbow, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today on lcpioneers.com live.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Fun conversation. Good to talk to him and have a chance to catch up with Pioneers baseball. I mean, like he talked about, Coach Kozdurka has come in, really had a vision for what the program could look like, and from the get go, definitely has put those pieces in more than just on field practice and on field in games. I mean, he's definitely built a holistic approach to his program, and is continuing to evolve too, and see what his team can do in another year of growth. They're working on everything from even just improving the facilities down at the Houston Sports Complex too. So I know that the future is bright for Pioneers baseball, and it sounds like Sammy, both on the field in terms of his leadership. I mean, he's even coming into pitch. I believe got a save earlier in the season. I mean, he did it all for the Pioneers early in the year, and it was pretty impressive to see the path that they were on, as well as many of our spring sports. So hopefully we'll continue that next year as we get back into things as soon as possible at Palatine Hill, Lewis and Clark Athletics. Let's see what's ahead for our guests next week. We have a couple uh, loose confirmations. I believe that they're on board, but I have been behind in terms of the scheduling last couple weeks. So, planning to talk to William Whitmer, who is a recently graduated senior from men's swimming, and see what's ahead for him. He's been heavily involved in student government at Lewis and Clark too. So I'm excited to get his perspective on what that experience has been like. And then longtime softball head coach Shauna Cyrus is planning to join us on Thursday as well. We won't have a show on Tuesday, or excuse me, no show on Wednesday, because William will be with us on Tuesday. So no show on Wednesday. We'll either pass along a replay or just skip over and wait until Thursday when we can talk to Coach Cyrus and talk about softball. So until then, we appreciate taking the time to join us. Big thanks to everyone on Facebook Live. If you miss any of the show, you can watch it on our archive, our playlist available at youtube.com/lcpios. Until then, I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks for having fun with us, Enjoy your weekend, and then we are excited to be back with you again next Tuesday, 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday at 11:30 on lcpioneers.com live. Goodbye, everybody.
Me being an econ major and my two group mates being chemistry majors, we really get that well-rounded background, well-rounded ideas.
I think overall it's absolutely worth doing. You find yourself not only being more prepared for, say, well, this next semester, on top of being more prepared for life in general.